My main thing left and my side thing switched up. It's better that way. I was getting them mixed up. Main thing left, side thing switched up. It's better that way. I was getting them mixed up. Main thing left and my side thing switched up. It's better that way.
Welcome back to the Freelance Network podcast, everybody. A podcast by content creators for content creators. Boom, sign. Here it is. It's everybody's favorite part of the video. We don't have our foam sign. We have the fake sticker sign. So today, I'm joined with my co-host, Cassie. Cassie, how are you today?
Nothing's really changed since the last episode. I'm still home, still bored, but staying home, that's the key.
Yeah, still social distancing. It's important. Yes. But today, we are joined by a very special guest, somebody who's been in my life pretty much my entire life, like a role model to me for many different reasons. But before I get all gushy and emotional, welcome, Maggie. Maggie, how are you?
Doing well, guys. How are you?
We're living the dream. So a little background about Maggie. We met, a long time ago, probably when I was like a small child, but both of our parents worked for the same high school. So we always kind of knew each other. But then Maggie started taking TV production and I was like, that's so cool. Like I remember talking to you about it, like when I was in middle school, and then they happened to have a middle school class for it, which was your senior year. So then you started coming over to my middle school class about it, teaching us. And like every single day, it was like so much fun getting to learn from like a student as opposed to just a teacher. So that was kind of like the beginning of like you being like a mentor to me in this, which is like super cool. Like you're a big reason why like I'm in this field, because also you allowed me to work on your senior thesis film a couple years later, which was the coolest experience, but we'll get to that. So Maggie is another Southern News Network alumni. They're just popping on this podcast left and right. We're making Lucas and Kaszuba proud, it's we a family. Yeah. So Maggie, tell people what you're doing now, like what you're up to.
So I am a production assistant in New York City. I work on mostly scripted television and movies in New York. I have been at it for 3.5 to 4 years. So I, became a production assistant with the dream of becoming an assistant director. And a lot of people don't know what that is. An assistant director doesn't do anything creative. It's all logistical. And we help, basically, the director tells us their vision, and then my boss, compiles a list of all the things that we need to do to accomplish that vision. And then she tells, her people under her how to direct us to do those things. And so we all have different roles. And we're part of like this big, it's a pretty big deal because you're part of the Directors Guild of America. So as a PA, you're non-union. And then your dream one day is to become an AD, which recently I was very lucky to get my days to be in a union, and I was able to submit my book and apply for the Directors Guild of America, and my book got approved. So now I am on the qualifications list for Directors Guild of America, which is really cool, but I have not joined quite yet. This is the next step. So
You're getting there, which is super exciting. So congratulations on that. Because for the people at home who don't know, you need to work, is it 600 days on set? Actual sets, like with call sheets and everything, and you have those intimidating binders.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask too, because Luke and I had previously mentioned on an episode of the podcast that we went to this production assistant boot camp sort of thing, and we pretty much just trained for 2 days on how to move up in as a production assistant and move up into the field. Is there any way that you can like quickly describe to the viewers who don't know like the hierarchy of moving up from production assistant?
Yeah. So when you're first starting out, you're an additional production assistant. So basically you meet other production assistants who have been what they call staff. And usually the key PA is the main person who hires people. So you would like befriend a key PA, and then the key PA would hire you, and then you would keep getting hired and keep getting hired. And then basically maybe after that job, the key goes on to a new job, and then they would basically say, I think this person could handle being a staff PA. And then that person's resume gets passed on. You might get hired, and you start basically as a walkie PA. So a walkie PA, basically just counts all the walkies, assigns them to people, is on the daily in charge of getting people walkies, and they're also the key PA's right hand. So the director needs a coffee, or someone needs something, and then you move up to, it's kind of plateaued after that. So all the jobs after that are equally as important, but you need different experiences for each. So you can be, the staff positions are background, paperwork, first team, and the key PA. So it's those different positions, but they all have something unique about them. And I can talk about that later when I talk about which jobs I've done.
So before we get more into the current work, I wanted to backtrack a little, because we like to talk about different college experiences, because everybody goes to different schools, different majors, different programs. So you went to Fairleigh Dickinson under a film major. So what was your experience there like?
I loved FDU. I thought that there was a big piece of home there, especially for my film people. I had really great professors who really believed in us and would fight to get us the best possible equipment and care, and let us dream big while also bringing us down to earth, which was very helpful all the time. I had one professor in particular who just really latched on to me when I was a freshman, and it basically gave me all these big projects. So in the summer I was making movies. I was assistant directing when I was 18, 19, had no idea what I was doing. But he would basically put these projects in front of me, and you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. You got this. And so I have 2 movies on Amazon Prime that have me as an assistant director when I was 18, 19. So I think that was really cool. And those were those experiences that made me want to, follow through with being an assistant director when I graduated.
Yeah, it's funny you said that too, because like I said before, when I got to work on your senior thesis film, I've told Cassie this, that was the moment I knew this is what I wanted to do with my life, because you came home and you kind of briefed the couple high school students who wanted to help, and you were like, guys, it's going to be long days. We might get mad at each other. We're going to get we're going to get a little ratty. And I mean, it was over winter break. And I remember waking up every single day being I need to be at the high school right now because they're filming something. I can't miss any of the scenes. I just need to be there. And so your senior thesis has a really cool story behind it too. So do you want to talk about that a little?
Yeah, sure. So my senior thesis in college was a cross between, I was 20 years old. I had lost my grandma to lung cancer. My basketball coach, who went to Southern, she was our coach there. She passed away suddenly, Kathy Snyder. And then my best friend and ex-boyfriend committed suicide 6 months after Kathy Snyder passed. And we got together again, talking and stuff because of Kathy Snyder's passing, which I thought was very unique to my life, because I don't know if we would have reconnected if Kathy Snyder hadn't passed. And so that's kind of where it all hit me into, to put it all together. And I was super, people talk about mental health a lot, but I was super depressed in college my sophomore year because, I was in the film program, but I wasn't doing very well because I wanted to do production. Everyone else wanted to do film, camera and lighting and stuff. And I just didn't fit in really. And so I was getting down about that. And then I wrote the script and everyone kind of understood, I took all my emotions, I put it into the script. And then I made this really, the movie, my one professor, which I always talk about, said oh, this is a good lifetime script. It's good that you're doing this for your community and your family and stuff. And I was no, it's not a lifetime, it's not a documentary. It's real. It's scripted. And he's yeah, but it will be good for your community. And I showed him the first cut with 4 scenes missing, 4 crucial scenes. And he cried, and everyone in the class was mouths were dropped, and they were this is going to be a great movie. So it was cool to finish it. And then we ended up putting it into tons. I spent so much money on film festivals, too much money on film festivals. And we ended up getting in 25 film festivals. We won about 6 awards, and that was really cool just to be in that. I had never written a film before, directed, or anything like that. So to accomplish something like that, it's really cool. Do I think I'll ever revisit it? A lot of people want me to, but I haven't decided quite yet.
Could be in the future, though. We'll see.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, that was just cool because also I learned like the community of film sets through that, where like the first day I knew you and Dan O'Hara because Dan O'Hara also went to our high school, but then everybody else I had no idea. But then now here we are like 5 years later, and I still keep in touch with multiple people that were on that set. Like I'm friends with all of them on Facebook. Like we even talked about an inspired reunion pretty recently. So it's cool to see, like you said, it was great for the community because Miss Snyder was such an important person in our high school. Like, I don't think you could walk into Southern without meeting her or knowing who she was because she was very loud. She was always speaking her mind, but that's what we loved about her. But yeah, so then after college, you enter the workforce, you know, where most boomers just think like, yo, go get a job that's 9 to 5 right now, otherwise you're a failure. So what was that like going into the freelance world, like first just trying to get your foot in the door as being a PA?
So when I first started PAing, I was actually in college. So I got my first job through one of my professors at TriStar Studios, which is it's like a informational, like the infomercial house. So there was like Genie Bra and like power pressure cooker and stuff like that. And you would like go in, you'd be everything. You'd be like the props person. You'd help with the food. You'd, you know, clean the knives. You clean the dishes. You would do anything they would say, basically. And that wasn't really how sets work in New York. And I didn't really know that when I was in college because it was my first job. And then I had this AD come by and they hired him to do a shoot. And he was like, where are the walkies? Why aren't you guys on walkie? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? And I was like, we don't do that here. And he was like, well, we're going to do that here. So he like started doing all these things. And then we did this model kind of thing. So she would change 26 times and she would go and do a video. She'd do like a walk and then she would go and do like a stills photo shoot. And it was supposed to be like a lookbook. So when she was walking and doing this dance, her outfit would change 26 times in the edit. So that was like one of the things that we were trying to do. And we calculated how long it took the first round of it. And we would have been there for like almost 24 hours if we kept up at the speed we were going. So the AD was like, Maggie, get your phone, get your stopwatch. You have 10 minutes in each station. You have to run this talent around. You only have 10 minutes. And if you ever go over it, like, I'm just going to ream you out. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll do it. So we got through all 26 outfits. We did it in like 14 hours. And it was a really, really, really long day, but I never went over 10 minutes. And he, you know, when he was leaving that night, he was like, call me when you graduate. I'm going to bring you to New York. And that's pretty much how it happened. So I called him when I graduated and he got me on one commercial. And after that, he said, you know, I got you this job. It's your job to network with these people and get your next job. And so I did, and I became really good friends with those people. And they hired me on every single thing that they did for the rest of the year. And then they moved to a different company and they brought me with them. So then they hired me on every project on that for like the next 6 months. And after that, I ended up moving into scripted television. So I had it sounds like I had a really easy ride going from college out into the real world, but it wasn't. I worked like the first year, I worked like once every 2 weeks, which was nothing, you know? And I was working at Fantasy Island down here in the shore, like so much to make up for all the money I wasn't making when I was at the other jobs. But they were so lucky, you know, they are so great at Fantasy Island to like work with your schedule and stuff like that. So I was able to, I would be like working till 11 p.m. at Fantasy Island and then be driving at 2 a.m. to get to the city to go to like a 4 a.m. call. So I was just trying to make it any way I could.
Damn, that's the grind if I've ever heard it. But
I
hey,
was doing it for a while.
it's the set life, you know? I mean, a lot of call times are very unpleasant times in the morning, I've learned. So just got to get used to it.
Yeah. So So what was like the turning point from like going to that kind of working dynamic to where you're at now?
The turning point was I got on a movie set. And so I did the show, The Miseducation of Cameron Post, for, it was 4 weeks. We worked 6 days. And we just had this great experience. And then I got on another movie. And then the people I met on that movie got me on a TV show. And so then the person who got me on the TV show just kept getting me on more TV shows. So it was like, it's, you know, the normal story, who you know, and how you get there, you know.
And hey, for all you people at home, if you're bored during this quarantine, Maggie's worked on God Friended Me and The Marvelous Miss Maisel. So like, you better stream those, check them out.
Yeah, they were definitely two of the biggest shows I've done so far. Marvelous Miss Maisel, I was a key PA on that, and it was just incredible to work with, incredible people, and just a really great time. So season 3 is where it's at if you want to check it out.
Which you posted a video on, I think on like Instagram of like behind the scenes from like a one take from Marvelous Miss Maisel, and like just seeing like, because it's a timepiece in that show, so like seeing like the part of the set that's you see and then like the half that's not was so crazy, because it was a shot with a steady cam too. So and you were directing them, like you were like helping guide them through. I'm just like, damn, look at Maggie go, like look at this is cool, you know.
Yeah, the video that I posted, I'll send it to you if you want to put it in here, but basically we were in like a one-way hallway, and it was a transition from like another scene that we hadn't even shot yet. So we had to figure out how to transition between both those scenes that were completely different. One was on the street, which we did a oneer also. It was a oneer into a oneer. And we basically used like a rack of dresses. So like in the other, when we shot the street one, we had to pull the dresses in the same manner that we did in the last one. So it's very like a creative kind of, and not that I have anything to do with the creativeness of it, but it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm on the phone with like my boss, who's on the phone with the costume designer, who's trying to get back to us. And then I'm reporting my boss. Like, it's like this whole, you know, sometimes when the creative happens, it happens in like waves. Like we all have to pitch in and get the information out there. But that was in particular, that scene, we were in a woman's bathroom, which is where the director of photography was, which is kind of funny because you know, he's one of the most important people on set, and he was actually in the women's bathroom. And then we had like 20 people in that bathroom with us. It was a non-functioning bathroom, but it still smelled like pee. And we were like all in there together. And the Steadicam to make the turn needed to come in the room also. So we had tape on the ground that basically said, if you're on the other side of this tape, you're going to get hit with the Steadicam every time it comes in. So the monitors, the DP was filming the video, and the monitors where they were, I was standing directly behind it. Like that's how I had to hug the cart so that the Steadicam didn't hit me, but I had to be there to do all the other stuff. So it was really cool. And like the director, you can't see her obviously, but in the oneer, she's hiding behind one of the desks, and there, her and my boss are sitting on the floor with a handheld monitor because you see the whole space, so you can't put anyone anywhere. So they were ducking the whole time, which I thought is really cool. Like you think of these you know, big shows and stuff, and like the director sitting on the ground on like an apple box,
like
and,
nestled in, like hiding.
Yeah, and the DP's in the bathroom. Like it's just one of those things. Like, and it's not even like just the DP. It's like the people that are always around the DP are the gaffer, the key grip, and usually the script supervisor and me. So it's like all those people plus all the hair makeup people that need to watch, all the extra crew members that need to watch are like shoved in that room. So it's always a fun time at the director, the DP monitor, where everyone goes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's like a really good insight to how like sets work, because it's really like a machine where like there's just so many cogs, and like everybody needs to be doing their thing or everybody gets messed up, and then somebody's going to get yelled at pretty quick. So yeah.
One of the biggest oneers to talk about with Maisel is if you watch the first episode of season 3, the opening scene after she's like in the bedroom with her ex-boyfriend, but after that, spoiler alert, after that, she's in like an army vehicle, and that whole sequence was a 7.5-minute long oneer.
Oh my
And
goodness.
you have to watch it. It's incredible. Like the whole premise of the show is really cool, but like we had like an e-car, which is something that the camera sits on, and it basically drives together with the other car, and then when they make the turn, it stops and then goes in reverse and comes back with it the same way, so it never turns around or anything like that. And the Steadicam's literally on the back, and then as they're pulling into the airport hangar, the Steadicam steps off while the vehicle is moving very safely. Obviously, we have people there to help him. And then it drove into a tent, and I was at the tent telling them to put the tent down. And then I would go to the back and grab the actor and escort him around. And I was with like Alex, who plays Susie, and then this other actor who played Mitchell. And so I would walk them around the back and then cue them to go on the other side. So it's like the coolest thing about Maisel is like you're so involved with all these big oneers and as a key PA. And I really love that, because you have to make sure that your job is completely taken care of before we start these things, because of safety and because of just everyone's well-being almost.
Didn't you guys go to Miami for Maisel at one point too?
Yeah, we went for 2 weeks to Miami, which was the coolest thing ever. You don't usually travel that much with New York crews. If they go anywhere, they basically hire every PA there, because it's just money. Like you have to pay for them to travel and per diem and all that stuff. So Maisel's a special show. You really need to have a good group of PAs, and we really nailed it this season. Like all my coworkers were incredibly great at their jobs, and I definitely couldn't do my job if they weren't as good at their jobs. And so they ended up bringing all 8 of us down to Miami, putting us up for 2 weeks, which was so cool. And it was great. They flew us down the Friday before so that we could like get acquainted with Miami and like go to the beach and do fun things before we were roped into this, crazy schedule for 2 weeks. So that was really nice of them. So they got us like an Airbnb, and Miami was a different monster for sure.
I thought you froze for a second, so.
My computer did freeze, so.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That happens with Zoom. It's fun.
Yeah, we're on Zoom
Yeah.
University, y'all. You gotta give us a little break. Yeah. So now, obviously, like we've talked about this before in our last couple episodes, during this quarantine, it's affecting the entertainment industry a ton because, like you said, a lot of us aren't union workers. Like we're not a part of a union. And also we're not essential workers. So like we're out of our jobs and we don't quite fit into stimulus packages, or we don't quite fit into relief things. And then people are just like, yeah, well, they don't need money. And I'm like, honey, you're watching movie and TVs and listening to music and reading books and everything every single day. Without entertainment, like you wouldn't have any of that. So, but you did tell me that you were working on a set before this started, right?
Yeah. So my new project, I can't say too much about it. But basically, I'm working on Lin-Manuel Miranda's directorial debut, which is going to be Tick, Tick, Boom. It's produced by Netflix. And we were 8 days into production, but obviously we halted because of everything. And the story is just really, really awesome, because a lot of people don't know about Jonathan Larson's life, and that's what it's about. So Jonathan Larson was a playwright, and so he wrote a play called Suburbia, and he spent like his whole life making like 8 years on this play. And when it workshopped, everyone was like, great job, can't wait to see what you do next. And he was like, what do you mean what I do next? Like, I just worked 8 years on this. And they were like, yeah, it's great, but it's never going to go to Broadway. So like, write something else. And so he was like super bummed. And I, believed to get writer's block. I don't know if that's true, but then someone was like, write what you know. And so he wrote a play about writing Suburbia. So he wrote about his life while he was writing Suburbia, and he was turning 30, and he thought, I should have my big break by now. So he wrote Tick, Tick, Boom, which was a one-man show, later turned into a 3-person show. And it was off Broadway for a little bit. And then he got the idea to write Rent. And so he wrote Rent. It got on Broadway. And then opening night, he died. And so he never saw what he did to musical theater. He never saw the, creation that he made. He like didn't see how he changed musical theater forever. And so he won a Tony that year for Rent, and his sister accepted the award. And it was just such a sad story because so many people are so influenced by him and his writing, and especially Lin-Manuel Miranda. And then, so he was very, just, I don't know, he just really loved Larson, like loved Jonathan Larson. And so he started adapting Tick, Tick, Boom into a movie. And so that's, he's very passionate about this, but Lin has his hands in like everything. He's crazy. I love him. He's wonderful. The exact person that you would expect him to be. And I'm running first team on this, which means that I'm working with the actors. So I get to, anyone that speaks in the movie or sings, it's musical. So I get to like get them ready in the morning, get them through hair, makeup, wardrobe, all that stuff. So definitely can't wait to resume production because I miss all of them. We do like weekly Zoom meetings, which is really cool with the crew. And Netflix has single-handedly taken care of their crews more than any other entertainment industry studio right now. And so they are still paying us, which is really awesome because they created like a relief package for us. So we're still on their payroll, which is really cool. So we don't have to worry about unemployment right now, until the end of April, basically.
Well, hey, huge shout out to Netflix. That's awesome. I didn't know they were doing that. And I love Lin-Manuel. Like anything he makes, like I need to watch just because he's just such a great writer. Like at the core of everything, that man just knows how to write. I didn't know that story about Rent. And I don't think I've ever met a theater kid who doesn't say that they like identify as Rent as part of their identity and like belt all the songs. So like that's an insane story. So like I really can't wait to watch that movie. But yeah, so also I wanted to ask, this is like a pretty common thing I hear from like a lot of people like around me and Cassie's age, like just getting out of school. Because for us at Stockton, like we haven't had as much like professor guidance in ways getting into it, but like what would you say is something that you like wish you knew like when first starting as a PA, like getting your foot in the door? Like it could be anything, just like because like that kind of general advice goes a long way.
Yeah, I think that for me, telling people what to do when they start out, one is just to know people. So to like really get yourself out there, joining Facebook groups, Mandy.com, Staff Me Up and all that stuff is great. I've never gotten a job from one of those, but just reaching out to people, and if you don't know anyone, like trying to find connections with other people and like always talking about what you're doing, like always saying that, well, I want a PA, I want to be a production assistant, I want to work in film and TV. And like someone at some point is going to know someone who does it. And I think that that's the biggest thing is like the world is so big, but it's also so small. And you can meet people. I've worked on, I think like 10 productions, 12 productions over the past few years. And I feel like I know everyone in the industry, but I do meet someone new like every day. So it's like, you can walk on set and know everyone, or you can walk on set and know no one. So it's always good to like constantly asking people around you, your family members and friends, like if they know anyone. And then when you finally get those jobs, not risking everything for those jobs, but risking like certain things in your life for those jobs. So like if my friend had a surprise party in AC and I got the opportunity to work on Tick, Tick, Boom, like I would choose Tick, Tick, Boom, and it's just like being responsible for your own success and being mature enough to realize that, yes, giving up that birthday party is tough, but like giving up this job might mess you up more in life. So it's like and then of course compensating for that missed opportunity. Like I would never miss a wedding or anything for work, and I was supposed to go to Italy in 2 weeks. So when I joined Tick Tick Boom, I said to them that I never do this, I never go on vacation, but my family planned a trip to Italy. I understand if you don't want to hire me because of this. And they said, no, we still want you. Go on your trip to Italy. We'll figure it out for that week. And so that was like, that also comes in time with like how you structure yourself going into it, and how your reputation precedes you, you know, because my bosses were the ADs on Maisel. They knew that having me on for 6 out of 7 weeks was better than not having me on at all. So, and I think that just always trying to find that next step and being eager, like never lose that, because that is what is the key to like your success in this industry.
That's awesome.
I don't know
advice.
if that was good or not.
That was awesome advice, because like that's the kind of stuff that we don't learn in college. And you know, we go out in the field and we pretty much graduate and they're just like, all right, well, have fun, go apply on LinkedIn, like whatever. But we don't get like the real like advice on like how to like make connections and do that kind of stuff. And that is the exact advice that college students are looking for. So thank you for that.
Yeah, like a lot of people listening will definitely benefit from that, because it's like firsthand experience from somebody who's been on sets like recently in our area the last 4 years, which is like kind of a unique thing. Because I mean, for us at Stockton, we're in the woods in southern New Jersey. Like we're doing our best, you know.
I know. And well, the good thing is that they recently you know, enhanced the tax exemption for New Jersey. And so there's actually a lot of productions who shoot in New Jersey, which is really cool, because I didn't have that when I was, you know, starting. Like anything that was shooting in New Jersey was a commercial that had tons of money, or it was SNL. And I worked on SNL for like a season on their like, you know, skits that they do on Friday nights and stuff, which was bonkers. But just stuff like that, you know, when I was first starting in commercials and stuff, it was tough. And like I said, I barely worked. So it's finding that other job that will be flexible and like understands your dreams. Like big shout out to Bob Millar and Tinez, as we call him, Brian Martinez, at Fancy Island, because they are a huge reason why, you know, I was able to do what I love, because they gave me the backup that I needed to make money and pursue my dreams. So having someone like that in your life is actually very helpful, you know, having a job like that.
Where are you going to go for family fun? Fantasy Island, am I right? That
plug Fantasy Island.
Legendary,
I spent 8 years of my life.
legendary commercial that played on every local channel here for years. Love it. But yeah, no, I think that's great too, because like a lot of people, it's like that transition period where I worked like a job really similar to yours, and I had the same exact thing. For this past summer, it was my first summer out of school, and I was working some PA jobs, some freelance jobs, different things with production companies, whatever. But I had that job to fall back on. And then my boss, Dave, was super flexible. If I was like, yo, I just got offered to shoot like tomorrow, he'd be like, I got you. Like, we'll figure it out. So that's really cool to hear from them too.
Yeah, they did that for me all the time, which is really cool. I felt so bad sometimes, but I was always like, all right, gotta go. And I was always training someone basically to take my place that year, because, you know, Bob loved me, and all the people at Fancy Island loved me, and they would have kept me there as long as they could, but they knew that I had, you know, bigger dreams and things I wanted to go after. So
yeah,
that was very helpful.
And like you were saying before too, there is a lot more productions coming in New Jersey. This past September, I actually worked on a set as a PA with somebody that I worked on your film with Gabe and Scott.
Oh God.
Yeah. Gabe and Scott.
I love Gabe.
Yeah. Gabe is such a diehard Yankees fan, and he messes with me so much because I love my Philly teams, and every single opportunity he gets, he messes with me. Like he'll text me just a meme about Philly. So love you,
Same.
Gabe. Love you, Gabe.
Yeah. Do we really love Gabe though? Do we?
We do. I mean, I could live without him wearing Devils jerseys on every set ever, but like that's his vibe. That's his thing. He does his own thing. It was funny too because when he pulled up in the big van that like had a bunch of gear in the back, and like his arms out the window. He looks like he's just like living the dream. He hops out the van. He's like, "Yo, you're on this set!" Like that was really funny. But that's like another networking thing where that day I was terrified because I was on a TV pilot shoot. I'd never been on a shoot like that. It was the biggest crew I've worked on, which is it just stressed me out. But then when I saw Gabe, I was like a lot more relaxed, and that's because I knew him through another shoot. So that was really cool.
Yeah, I love that. It's tough because like I've been so rolling into shows basically. So I'll have like a week or two maybe in between shows, and then I kind of get into the next project. So my book for DGA this year, it was like, you know, I had like 40 days for Godfriend and Me because it was the end of the season, 93 for Maisel, and then 50 for Dickinson, and then like the rest of them was like 1, 2, 3. You know, like I had like many days everywhere else. So I went on the show City on a Hill, and I was working with so on Godfriend and Me, Kira Sedgwick, who is married to Kevin Bacon, was our director for an episode. So I was with her for like 8 days, and then I went to City on a Hill for 1 day because they needed help and someone dropped out and I was free. And I walk on, I don't know anyone. So like when I say like, you know, most of the industry, like sometimes you walk on the set and you don't know anyone at all. And Kira Sedgwick walks up to me because she's directing that episode. And she's like, Maggie, oh my God. She's hugging me and she's like, can I have a coffee? And can you grab my Comtech and this and that? And I was like, yeah, sure. And everyone's staring at me like, who is this girl? And I'm like a day player on this show. And then like Kevin Bacon says hi to me. And it's just like, it was just such a like a funny situation because you're just like, it's like small world basically. And that's the coolest thing about, you know, I'm good friends with like a lot of people that I've worked with before, which I really enjoy. But I just thought that was a funny story. You can know no one except for the most important person on set, which is the director.
Yeah, I mean,
you'll be okay.
We love random Kevin Bacon stories. We love them.
Well, did you hear the Corona joke where they say if Kevin Bacon gets it, we're all dead?
Oh yeah. Yep.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. So and then you kind of touched on it before, but you said that like your ultimate goal is to be like an AD, like a first AD. So if you could describe the DGA process a little bit, that would be awesome.
Sure. So basically Director Guild of America is a very sought after position for a lot of people. It's very intense. I truly want to be a key second AD. So you have 3 ADs when you go on set. So you have the first AD who plans and schedules everything. They make the calls on when to bring the actors in, how long each scene's going to take, you know, after conversing obviously with the director and the DP and stuff. And so they make all those calls, and then the second AD takes all that information and like puts it into documents. So the second AD consults with the first AD with like, how many background do we want for this scene? Do you need a special background for this scene? Should we do this? Should we do that? How many PAs do we need? How many lockups do we need for that day? All that stuff. And then you have your second AD who is on set with the first AD. And so then they're basically, they set the background. So the first AD really concentrates on first team and the director and all the main people on set. And then the second does like the background and helps the key PA set lockups and do anything, and like not so much helps the key PA, but just kind of checks the key PA if there's any questions and stuff like that. And the key PA is what I did on Maisel and Dickinson, and we kind of make sure that people aren't walking into the frame. And we also hire the PAs, and you know, DP comes up, they want a coffee, director wants a coffee, we're delegating. So we're like the key delegator to anything that needs to happen on set. If the grip comes up to me and says, hey, I need a PA here to watch the stand, to do this, to do that, like I'm the one who's helping everyone kind of mesh together along with the other ADs. So to be an AD, you put in your 600 days, you put your books in, they approve it, and then you have to pay pretty hefty like initiation fee. But it's really like your pay goes up so much once you become an AD that like that initiation fee is like 2 weeks of work. So it's like 7,400. And then, so you pay that to get in. And then after that, you're making over $500 a day, depending on what position you are. So it definitely is worth it. And to make that jump is huge. The transition between being a PA and an AD is the hardest one in the industry, I would say. Because you need to learn, people need to trust you, and people need to basically learn who you are, and they need to want to hire you. And so that's the biggest thing. Like, even though I'm working for Netflix right now, I'm still a freelancer. And AD work is just very mental, you know, it's all about delegating and making sure people are doing the right things and making sure that, you know, set is organized and safe. And our biggest thing on set is safety. So it's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a process that not a lot of people know about or understand. Like, they hear the DGA, one, they don't know what it stands for. And then when you tell them, they're like, oh, it's just directors. Like the people at top, like that first name you see, like, no, there's a lot more people in it than just that. But yeah, so Cassie, do you have any more questions for Maggie?
No, I think that was probably like the most detailed like interview we've
I know.
we've ever
I mean,
had.
definitely.
Like,
It was like boom, information in your face. but all very important things to know. So Maggie, we want to thank you for taking some time to be on. We really appreciate it, and support all these wonderful shows she works for, because that gets Maggie jobs, and we want Maggie to have jobs. We love her.
Thank you guys. Thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Of
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for watching or listening at home. And hey, that's a pod. See you later, everybody.
Yeah, but you gotta let it happen like a ritual. My main thing left and my side thing switched up. It's better that way. I was getting them mixed up. Main thing left, side thing switched up. It's better that way.